middle of the day as opposed to the middle of the night from last night. I'm Colonel Christopher Garver, 3 Corps and Fort Hood Public Affairs Officer. I'd like to introduce Lieutenant General Mark A. Milley, Commander of U.S. 3rd Corps and Fort Hood, and Senator John Cornyn. General Milley will make some remarks, Senator Cornyn will make some remarks, and then they'll take questions after that. Please raise your hand, wait to be called on, and then we'll take remarks and then move from there. So without further ado, General Milley and Senator Cornyn.
Good afternoon. Again, condolences to the families of the fallen, and compassion and condolences for all of those who were injured in this affair, for all of their families, and we're working closely with all of them at this time. Right now I'd like to provide you an update. I won't repeat the information that I provided yesterday or last night, but an update, a short update on the shooting incident that happened yesterday. First, I want to announce that we have positively identified, and we are able to release, as next of kin have been notified, the alleged shooter is Specialist Ivan A. Lopez. He is 34 years old, originally from Puerto Rico. Specialist Lopez was assigned to the 49th Transportation Movement Control Battalion of the 13th Sustainment Brigade. And again, his next of kin notification has been complete. We will be publishing later on this afternoon, this evening, Specialist Lopez's releasable service record, and you can find that on FortHoodPressCenter.com. In regards to Specialist Lopez's medical status, out of respect, as you can understand, for his family and the integrity of the ongoing investigation, I will not say anything further than the comments that I made yesterday. As for the investigation, Criminal Investigation Division of the United States Army continues as the lead investigating agency, and they are right now synchronizing all of the investigative work of the federal, state, local, and Army agencies throughout Fort Hood and the surrounding area. They are interviewing witnesses, and that is an ongoing and active investigation. I would ask that everyone avoid speculation about the incident and let the investigation and the investigators take their course. Many of those soldiers are also witnesses, and I would ask the media, for due respect of the integrity of the investigation, to try to stay clear of soldiers who may have been witnesses. And as I stated last night, at this point we have not yet ruled out anything whatsoever, and we are committed to letting the investigation run its course, but we have, again, no indications at this time of any links to terrorist organizations of any type, either national or international. I just returned from Scott and White and visited with our wounded soldiers down there, and I'd like to thank publicly the great professional support that we've gotten from the entire medical staff at Scott and White. Tremendous effort by all of them, the medevac pilots, and then also the great professional medical effort that was done here on Fort Hood at Garnell. There are casualties still at Garnell, and there are casualties still being treated at Scott and White, and they are getting world-class medical care, and we appreciate all of that. Currently, we have 16 wounded soldiers, and as we said yesterday, 4 killed, the shooter, and 3 victims. Of the 16 soldiers, 9 of them are at Scott and White currently, and 3 are at Garnell. 4 of the soldiers have already been released. We're planning a memorial ceremony for early next week, and we will keep you advised of when that is, to honor our fallen. I'd also like to thank the outpouring of support from the Central Texas community, and indeed from the entire state of Texas, and from all of our national leadership within the military and our civilian leadership at the national level. Everyone is chipping in to try to assist in any way they can, and I would recommend that any individual wanting to donate support in any manner, shape, or form contact the Fort Hood PAO that's on the Facebook page, and they can point you in the right direction. But a variety of organizations, from the USO, the Red Cross, and a wide variety of other organizations are providing assistance right now. We deeply appreciate their support as well. With that, I'll take questions after I turn this over to Senator Cornyn. But again, I ask that you keep the fallen and the families of the fallen, along with the wounded and the families of the wounded, in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you very much, Senator Cornyn.
General Milley, thank you for your strong and steady leadership during difficult times, both here and assignment abroad, where we last met. I'm back here at Fort Hood for the second time in about 4.5 years, and what I see is a community that has come together in a time of crisis and heartbreak and is pulling together. But this community is no stranger to hardship and challenges, and they have risen and met the test each and every time, and I know they will do that again. But I'm here today to offer my support to my constituents, and certainly the military leadership as they conduct their investigations in a very deliberate and careful sort of way, not jumping to conclusions, but seeing this thing through to the very end, as I know they will and we will. But I look forward not only to the briefing that I just had with General Milley, but also having a chance to meet with the first responders, the people who showed up and confronted this crisis and dealt with it as professionals. And then I look forward to having a chance with General Milley to visit some of the wounded and perhaps to help comfort some of the families of those who were fallen.
So with that, be happy to take a few questions.
General,
sir.
Is there any truth to the reports that this shooter got his weapon at the same gun store that Hassan did?
I'll wait until the investigation confirms that to me. I have some reports to that effect, but I don't have confirmation. Yes, sir.
Did the specialist transfer to this facility into the WTU?
No. He was transferred to Fort Hood from Fort Bliss. He was assigned to a unit at Fort Bliss, Texas. He was reclassified into another MOS. While he was at Fort Bliss, he was an infantryman. He reclassified into 88 Mike, a vehicle operator, and he came to Fort Hood under that MOS. He was not being transferred here to be assigned to the WTU.
General, have you requested a leave?
No, that is not the reason why he's transferred. That is not the reason why he's transferred.
General, have you requested a leave if it's denied? Is that in any way?
That's it. We're looking into that right now, yeah. There are reports of that, trying to confirm or deny that, exactly.
General, friends of Specialist Lopez back in Puerto Rico say that he was upset that he was given only 24 hours by the military to attend his mother's funeral. What exactly were the terms of his leave for that funeral?
Yeah, I don't have the details on that right now.
Are you aware of his purchasing that gun about a week after his mother passed away?
You have to say that again.
Okay. 4 months, Rob, was it cut short or was it a pre-deployment tour?
No, the unit mission was complete at 4 months.
Was the purchase of the gun, did that happen at about the same time that his mother passed away?
I do not know.
General, do you have any change in the policy of soldiers being allowed to carry firearms at the base for searches, conducting searches at the gate or searches at the buildings?
At this time, there's no change in the DoD policy that I'm aware of in terms of carrying weapons on a military station.
General, do you feel like you're any closer? Do you feel like you're any closer than you were last night to understanding why he did his killings?
We have very strong evidence that he had a medical history that indicates unstable psychiatric or psychological condition. Going through all the records to ensure that that is in fact correct. We believe that to be a fundamental underlying cause.
Were there any instances at Fort Bliss that you could speak to? You said there was a history of the mental
no specific incidents. That's correct.
When you said
I'm aware of it.
Did he ever complain about assault?
I'm sorry?
Did he ever file a
Not that I'm aware of.
General?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are you referring to records that are for his career within the military?
Correct.
General, do you think there was one specific incident that triggered the shooting?
Sorry?
Was there one specific incident that triggered the shooting?
We're looking into that, trying to figure out what the trigger event was. It was mentioned yesterday there may have been a verbal altercation with another soldier or soldiers, and there's a strong possibility that in fact immediately preceded the shooting. But we do not have that definitively at this point, but we do have strong indications.
Do you have a sense as to what that verbal altercation?
He had a non-registered weapon with him. He would be realistic, trying to go through everybody that goes into the base looking for unregistered weapons.
I'm not sure I understood the question.
He had a weapon that he hadn't registered.
He has not registered a weapon on Fort Hood, that's correct.
Yes. Would it be realistic to kind of search every single soldier going into the base with a unregistered weapon?
As you know, Fort Hood's a big installation. We've got about 70 or 80,000 folks here that work on a day-to-day basis. There's another 40,000 family members. Add on to that retirees, contractors, and others. We've got a population well over 100,000 here. It would not be realistic to do a pat-down search on every single soldier and employee on Fort Hood for a weapon on a daily basis. That would be unrealistic.
Senator, what do you think about the policy?
Talk more about the MP, the female MP.
The female MP, and then we'll come back to your question for the senator. There were several instances here of clear heroism. I would cite that female MP. We're not going to release her name yet. She's germane to the investigation, but she clearly performed her duty exceptionally well. But there's others. There were folks inside some of these buildings who performed very heroic personal acts in saving others. There's at least one chaplain that I'm aware of that shielded and saved other soldiers, broke some windows, and got them to safety. I think the performance of the medical staff, the initial performance of medical staff at Darnell was exceptional. I've seen a lot of medical staff perform in combat, and the performance at Darnell, and the performance of Scott and White easily rose those levels of combat standards.
Did you fire?
So there's an awful lot of heroism out there. Yes, you did fire away.
Can I follow up on that? Now that we're 24 hours out, General, 24 hours out, what has been the impact on the morale of the troop level? A second event, we're not 24 hours out.
We've got all the commands doing command information throughout the day today, but all the reports and my personal observations so far, you've got an installation that's strong, it's resilient, for professional soldiers, very high percentage of combat veterans here. So the morale of soldiers is serious, it's professional, and we're going about our duties to take care of this and move on and take care of the family.
Sir, you mentioned mental condition.
Go ahead. No indication at this point. No indication that he's targeting specific people. I'll await the investigation. I think someone had a...
The question for the senator.
Yeah, go ahead.
Senator, what do you think about the policy of soldiers not carrying firearms on the base? Do you think that needs to be modified? Maybe have one soldier per building or all soldiers?
Well, General Milley's job is to carry out the policy of the Department of Defense now, but I'm confident that there will be a thorough review of that policy, and the military will make the best judgment what it needs to happen in order to protect people on base. So I respect General Milley's position. I respect the importance of doing that thorough review to see if there are any gaps or any things that need to be corrected in future policy.
General, you mentioned the soldier's mental condition. Sir, are you at all concerned that this soldier may not have gotten the psychological help that he needed?
We're gonna do a thorough investigation of all the systems, to include medical. I've asked for external investigators to come in to help us with all of that.
Are you
to ensure that there's no gaps or seams. We do know that he was under treatment, so he was in the system and he was being looked at.
But does the incident suggest to you that he might not, or are you concerned that he might not have gotten enough psychological help?
I think that's too early to tell. I'll wait till we get the investigation in here. The professional medical investigator tell me whether there's gaps in that particular system.
Do we know if his mental history had been reported to the state, which might have kept him from being able to buy a gun?
wait till the official investigation comes out, determine whether it's premeditated or not.
General, is there anything else in his personal life that could trigger?
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah, she responded to the scene. Let me back up. At 16:16 hours yesterday is the first 911 call. That call was made by two wounded soldiers who in and of themselves demonstrated heroism and presence of mind to go ahead and make a 911 call. And I've talked to both of them down at Scott and White. The shooting began just a few minutes prior to that, and they were able to get that call. She arrived with her vehicle at 16:20 hours. She arrived 4 minutes after that 911 call. She began working the scene with other law enforcement that began to show up. A short time later, the shooter showed up, approached her at approximately 20 feet, and as I described yesterday, put his hands up and went down, and underneath his jacket, he pulled out the .45 caliber Smith & Wesson weapon, at which time she saw that, interpreted that as a threat, correctly so, and then engaged him with small arms fire, at which time then the shooter did a self-inflicted gunshot.
General, did she hit?
What is the status? Is she
Yeah, I doubt it based on her rank, but I don't know the answer to that.
General, the Army chaplain who shielded the individuals, what's his status? Can he survive?
Yes.
Did the chaplain do that as the shooter was reminded?
Sorry?
Was the shooter in the same building as the chaplain?
Yes.
How close was he to him?
Close.
General, my face.
Close.
General, you said that there was a strong indication that there was some kind of altercation.
Sorry?
There was a strong indication that there was some kind of verbal altercation right before the shooting between him and another soldier or soldiers. Did you shed any light at all on what that altercation was about?
No, at this point I'd like not to shed any light on that, because that's being fully developed as part of the investigation.
You may, General, you may.
Let me go over on this side here. That would be real speculation, and I'm not going to engage in that.
Is there anything else you're looking at his personal life that could possibly have been a trigger?
We are looking at all the factors that you would suspect. We're looking at everything from finance to medical, personal relationships, marital issues, family health issues, all those sorts of things. We're looking at all of that.
General, did Specialist Lopez fire at the MP, and did she strike him when she fired at him?
I'm sorry. Did she strike him?
Did she strike him with her fire, and also?
I don't have the full autopsy report
Did he
this
fire
time, so
her?
I do not know if there's other wounds or not, other than the self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.
General,
Did he fire at
the
her?
role of the fallen in this, what you talked about heroism, the role of the fallen in the folks who passed away.
Yeah, I don't have all of those roles defined yet.
Can you talk about the role of the Army chaplain, what the chaplain did? Can you tell us what the chaplain did? He shielded individuals. Can you tell us what the Army chaplain did?
Okay, he did just what I said he did, which is he shielded some individuals, took control of the situation, broke a window, and got them out to safety.
Senator Cornyn,
Yes, ma'am. I couldn't hear the question. Say that again.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the leave request that was apparently canceled? When that happened and why that happened?
I don't know that. I don't know all the facts on that report of a leave request yet. That's being developed by the investigator. So I don't want to comment on that until I get accurate information on it.
Senator Cornyn, question for you, sir.
Go
Will
ahead.
this incident lead you?
He's got it. No, there's no connection to that, but we know. Over here.
What's the condition of the female and was she wounded?
She was not wounded.
Comes to Lord, they say they follow all conversations.
You're going to have to speak up.
Comes to Lord where he bought the gun, says they follow all state and federal laws with regard to background checks.
I don't know. We've got local law enforcement checking all of that.
Senator.
Essentially, sir, Moonlight Club.
You said personal life and finance were the biggest talking about. That was not the intention.
No indications of any of that.
General, which building did he go into first, please?
You went into the 49th Transportation Battalion Headquarters.
Senator?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you confirm that he purchased the weapon from Guns Galore?
He purchased the weapon from Guns Galore on 1 March. That's
When
correct.
did he buy that weapon?
I'm sorry?
When did he purchase
1 March.
Senator? questions?
We know that this woman is a long history now with none of that came up in his previous records. People those hours before this thing happened and know that they have something having too much here what can be done in order to get so many
Well, mental health issues are the most vexing issues from my perspective in terms of how do we identify people who have genuine problems that need to be treated and that they need to be helped with. But I think at the same time we have to be very careful and not paint with too broad a brush and assume that just because someone has been in combat that they necessarily have those issues. We shouldn't stigmatize healthy people who are resilient, who are able to deal with those stresses. We ought to identify those people the best we can who do need help and get them the help that they need. And this remains one of the, to me, one of the most vexing, but also one of the most urgent issues, not just with regard to the military, but with regard to many of the mass shooting incidents we've seen, not only on military installations, but in our country, period.
Senator, do you envision
Take two more questions.
leading towards an investigation or a hearing or a renewed call in Washington for veterans and active duty mental health issues?
Well, the debate about and discussion about how to appropriately deal with veterans and active duty military's mental health issues is one that's been ongoing for at least the last 13 years with special intensity because of Afghanistan and Iraq. But it's not going to abate. My sense is that it's going to accelerate, and the debate and the scrutiny and the investigation will need to heighten, and we'll need to deal more extensively with it. This is a very challenging issue, but one we can't shrink from, and we won't.
Take one more question from over here. Go ahead. One more question from over here. There's no indications at this time that he's targeting specific soldiers. Last question, go ahead.
More detail on the movements of the shooter, exactly which buildings he went into,
We do, and we're developing the exact sequence, what building, step by step, but I'm not prepared to release that at this time. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We'll do this again tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.